Hello everyone, my name is Pure Draculea, and today in this video we are doing a flip through in progress tour of one of my comic projects. So this features characters from Noah's Archipelago, which was a comic I was doing as a web comic for a few years, but now I'm moving it into more of a book project. And what this started as actually was going to be a 2027 calendar, and then halfway through I thought, yeah, you know what, why don't I make a book of days? One of the characteristics here is our main character, Noah, here absolutely loves any sort of a fake holiday. So, you know, things like National Peach Cobbler Day, that sort of thing. And it was a running gag in the webcomic. So I thought, why don't I take these illustrations and make each of them like a chapter header. So we've now gone through the full year of those, and the project's going to get set aside while I actually, you know, write the book. All about these different, listing these different fake holidays and maybe doing some write-ups on them and whatnot. But anyways, let's get right into it. So January. So Noah Thorsen, his wife Ruth Thorsen, their daughter Ursula Thorsen. Now they do live in Victoria, BC. It would be a once in, not just once in a century, probably once in several centuries, that there would be this much snow in Victoria in the backyard where she could make a snowman that big and not have like the lawn showing. Usually they get like this much snow and that's like an Armageddon level event in Victoria. But hey, it's the cartoon universe. We get to do things in ways that make the jokes funnier. So we've got Ursula out there making a snowball, another snowball, and she's already made this snowman. And by the way, so what I'm using for, I'm doing like the underdrawing with a non-photo blue pencil crayon. Now, of course, this is in full color. It's getting scanned, so this will show on the final scan. I'll probably do some photoshopping to kind of smudge that out. But in other areas like here, or even like here in Ruth's face, I don't mind if it shows a little bit. It's kind of characteristic for doing marker cartoons with Noah and whatnot to have it show through a little bit. I will probably clean it up here because my spacing was a little off in the lettering. But I'll kind of see once everything gets scanned. But like here where I'm going to bring this down so we can see more detail of what I'm talking about. But you know, like in there, in the tutu where you have some of the underdrawing showing, I'm not going to worry about that. Let me just try and get that. Now there we go. So underdrawing, then the next step is I use a variety of thicknesses of these pigment liners for the outlines. And then I've been using different markers. And mostly these are cheap-ass ones I got at Home Sense, which is Canada's version of Home Goods, or TJ Maxx. I do have some like Michael's Artist Loft ones and whatnot, but they're mostly alcohol markers. There are some that are just regular markers. So we've got a combination of those. Some of these pages do have some details that are pencil crayon. Most of them don't. I may decide later to add more pencil crayon detail, but I think I'm probably going to leave it. So anyways, this is January. Ruth saying, "Who's that supposed to be?" Ursula's fuming about having been sent outside to get fresh air instead of just watching cartoons all day. Noah explains if it's got devil horns and tutu, her dance teacher. Devil horns in a math book, her school teacher. Devil horns in a plate of salad, either you or me, depending on nose size and hairstyle. So that is January. Now, the next one, and you can see these do bleed through. I had just some like copy paper in between, but I think I'm probably gonna figure out some plastic or whatnot to go in between because these may be it may be a while before I actually finish the book. So in terms of like making sure they don't bleed and like ruin each other. I need to put some heavier barriers in between. Anyways, here's February for Valentine's, of course. Hey, Ruth, want to make another baby, huh? So, and this kind of background with multiple layers, when I was doing Noah as a webcomic, mostly I was doing, there was like 2 months at the end of the webcomic where I was trying to do it with markers, and I just realized, you know what, the ideas I have are going to be more suited to working in graphic novels. So I kind of have stopped the webcomic. But when I was doing it as a webcomic, I would layer on different, background colors with dot patterns and stuff like that, because I was doing it in Procreate. So it was easy to mess with the backgrounds that way. So I have tried to, in some spots, kind of have that vibe. Obviously, if I go to graphic novels, chances are I'm probably going to do them in black and white, just because that's more economical, and that's also how I'm kind of used to working in smaller scale. When I do, say, Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat on my Friday streams or whatnot, it'd be very similar. So, anyways, but we'll kind of sort that out. But I will have maintained some projects that are full color. So anyways, we've got like the swirls and the different shades and some dots and all that. And I did also tend to, in the Procreate era, kind of use background colors a little bit about emotionally. So blue, he's calm. He's kind of yellow, a little bit excited. Pink, well, love, etc. So we see that a little bit more with some of the other color choices around Ursula's head, for example, in September when she's going back to school. So anyways, February. And the other thing I'll say, and this is kind of a holdover, this actually does have some pencil crayon in it. I don't know how well that shows up. But one of the things when I was doing the Procreate version is I would have flat color on like Noah's skin and hair, but I would like put shading and whatnot into the clothing. So you kind of have that like flat color, more dimensionality thing. It's a bit weird, but it's kind of the style. So there we go. And March. Now March, because I was thinking of 2027. This was done when it was still going to be a calendar project. He is looking a little bit washed out. He has gray and then very light gray, and then his peachy colored skin. For 2027, both Easter happens in March. So then in March, it's that conflict between St. Patrick's Day and Easter. Now, of course, they're not normally on the same day. In fact, I think they would never really be on the same day, because then Ash Wednesday would have to be in January, and I don't think that normally happens. I don't think that ever happens. But anyways, I had Noah combining he loves dressing up in random costumes too, so he's combining his Easter Bunny costume with his Leprechaun costume. And the Easter basket has gold coins and whatnot. I mean, for a book of days, of course, obviously that's not specific to one year, but Easter happens in March often enough that I think it works. And this one actually is a redraw. I had done it initially with a darker color scheme, but there were some things I didn't like about how I drew Noah's face, and they kind of screwed some things up, so I redrew it, and then I made the color scheme brighter, like the original. This is like a royal or navy blue, and anyways, this version is better. So April, Singing in the Rain. Ursula not too thrilled about all this. Noah's getting soaked, but the only thing that's missing is him having set up his cell phone on a little tripod or selfie stick that has the little feet on it, so that he could film himself doing this. It's also kind of a takeoff of a just plain pen and ink sketch I had done in Inktober last year, I think, or 2024. And then we've got the lilacs blooming in the background, cherry blossoms, and all that. So, and then speaking of the garden and lilacs and whatnot, this is May. This one does have a lot of pencil crayon detail in the gravel and whatnot because they didn't really have the right color and texture in markers, I don't think. So anyways, he's got his peonies, his rose, his garlic's coming up. He has chickens, and the chicken is ripping a radish out. He's taking a selfie. Got a camellia blooming, lilac blooming. I guess that's probably azaleas, butterflies, etc. One of the jokes with Noah is, so Ruth's parents are well off, and they have a large property in, I always said Oak Bay in Victoria, that has a guest house, and it's kind of like a big square lot. And the mother-in-law, Agnes, always had this expansive lawn, except she did have a concession to have a pool in one corner close to the house. She loved her lawn, and then her, logically you'd see the house behind them over here, but we just pretend that that doesn't happen. But she's got her, it's not actually a hedge because they're not touching, but these tall arborvitaes or whatnot. And then Noah has, since marrying Ruth and moving into the guest house, because Ruth moved into the guest house at 18 as her pretend being independent. So when they got married, Noah moved in. And Noah has, with the conspiracy of Ruth's dad, Frank grew up on a farm. He always wanted to retire to a farm, but Agnes refuses to move away from the city because Agnes is kind of a socialite, and anyways. So Frank has conspired with Noah to bring a little bit of the farm here. So they took over part of the lawn for a raised bed garden. They brought in a chicken coop. They planted an orchard, like dwarf fruit trees. And every time this happens, Agnes gets furious, and Frank, like a coward, insists that's all Thorsen's doing, but, he was part of the planning and paid for it, So there will be like a hoop house. That was one of the things I had listed for a little while. I was writing like a little column on the Noah website, the Diary of Noah Thorsen, and one of them was from earlier this year was Noah and Frank conspiring to put a greenhouse in the back of the property when Agnes is down in Vegas. Anyways, and so there's Noah taking a selfie in the garden that he has made. And then, just making sure that things are still in focus as the pile is getting flatter. Then we have June, end of school. So their daughter Ursula is in 3rd grade. Now this is kind of, if you've seen Groundhog Day where it's the one day that always repeats, well, in comic book time, kind of like in sitcom time, especially cartoon ones like, say, The Simpsons or whatnot, where you're not going to have the child actors grow up, where you kind of have to follow them. But in this situation, I'm just realizing I forgot to draw the edge of Ursula's forehead. In this situation, the one school year always repeats and loops. So anyway, so Ursula is perpetually in 3rd grade with her teacher, Miss Fardamar, who also can't wait for the end of the school year. And then at some point in the summer, it resets, and then in September, I did a while ago, a couple of years ago, I think I had a cartoon sequence in September where Noah becomes obsessed with the idea of time loops, because it starts to dawn on him that I bought this exact hoodie for Ursula last back to school. Ursula, of course, points out to him that if they were really in a time loop, he would have had a lot more practice with winning teddy bears at the midway of the fall fair. So therefore, she believes that the time loop isn't real. Of course, the joke's on her. The time loop is real because that's how the cartoonist, me, said it. Anyways, the last day of school, Uh, the intercom. So long, suckers. Or, I mean, see you in September. And that's obviously a fire bell, not like a normal like school bell, but the fire bell's easier to draw and punchier in color and whatnot. So Ursula's doing her William Wallace Braveheart thing, standing, yelling freedom. Of course, the joke is that the bell's ringing. Now they do have freedom, whereas Braveheart was fighting to get freedom. But anyway, she obviously didn't pay much attention during the movie, or she's only seen little clips of it, not actually the whole thing. Meanwhile, Miss Fardamar's got her lay on, and she can't wait to be out the door either. Um, and then Ursula's classmates are kind of, this guy's ignoring her because he knows he's time to go. That's Lily, who's Ursula's best friend. So, anyways, there we have the June one. July. Now, this one, this is as it was originally drawn. I wasn't super happy. Of course, July, again, kind of like March, where we've got two holidays. Well, we've got Canada Day on July 1st and the United States Independence Day on the 4th. So Noah's wearing a costume incorporating both Uncle Sam and the beaver. Noah isn't American. He's Canadian. His parents are Danish. His grandparents were Danish immigrants. So all four of them. So, but he loves, Stars and Stripes and all that. He's into all of that stuff as well. So he's probably also into Cinco de Mayo, and well, I guess that one's kind of. I have heard people say Cinco de Mayo isn't actually a thing in Mexico. It's more like north of, American and Canadian drinking holiday. But anyways, I honestly don't know. I have to look that up as part of reading the book. But anyways, so he's got his outfit, and Ruth is saying, "You are not wearing that. You're not wearing that to Costco." Guess again, Ruth, he is absolutely wearing that to Costco. I wasn't too happy with I like this part of the background. I wasn't thrilled with the green. I think didn't work. And this is what I was talking about earlier with like colors. So like red, she's pissed. So she's got these red bubbles around her head. Noah, he's happy, so he's got pink and yellow, and he's excited. So yellow, anyways. And the blue kind of calming. I do like how that goes in. Now what I did was I traced it, and you'll have to use your imagination here because of course these are opaque. So even if I hold them up to the light, I mean, it's not going to show on camera anyways. I don't have my light box here, but this is the background. I traced on my light box the outline of the figures. And then what I'm going to be able to do in Photoshop or Clip Studio Pro, whichever I end up using, is I will be able to make this its own layer and then mess with the transparency. This is actually kind of the similar green, very pale, but this has like the dots and whatnot. And I think I may completely erase out this part and just have this part go down. Or I may blend. I'll see what it looks like if I blend them. That might help. Anyway, so separate background. This part will stay, and Ruth's bubbles will stay, and then it will just kind of overlay. So that will take some photoshopping, but that's July. August. One of Ursula's hobbies is she loves her super soakers. And she loves playing sniper. So she's hiding in the bushes around the pool. Again, this is the mutual backyard with the lawn and whatnot. So Noah's chickens would be somewhere over this way. But anyways, Noah loves hanging out in the pool. He's got his floaty. He's got a beer with lime in it. He's dozing off. I drew him. Usually he wears Speedos, but for this angle, if I had him in a Speedo, it would look like he wasn't wearing anything because his butt's down here, right? So kind of he's drawn wearing board shorts, which he never actually does. But anyways, Ursula's about to ruin his good hair day. And that's one of her favorite hobbies throughout the summer. She also sometimes will swim and with a snorkel set come up so she can like blast him in the face from like this angle or whatnot. she also blasts other people. Like, it's not just that she's targeting her father. So, and then back to school. Again, what I was saying. So we've got this kind of depressing gray and the reddish orange, red and orange for anger and annoyance. And yeah, she's miserable. Ruth's asking, why are you wearing mom's funeral hat? And Ursula's saying, because the first day of school is a day of mourning. And Noah's all thrilled. He's like, aw, look at your little goth phase. Your big brother Adam's going to be so proud. We don't really see Adam so far in this book. We don't see him at all in the main illustrations. Anyways, I'm going to bring this down for a few details. One, this is a case where her eyebrow, I'll probably Photoshop that because it's going to look a little weird. Two, what I did to get the blacks is I actually started with different colors. So her dress, her belts started as red, and then her dress started as purple, and her hat with blue, and the shoes brown. And then I added gray, dark grays on top of that to tone it, and then just black in some spots, so it kind of looks a little shiny. But you can, in person, you can definitely tell those are 3 different blacks. Because, you know, I spent a lot of time as kind of doing the goth thing and whatnot. I used to have, actually, at CITR Radio in Vancouver, I had the goth industrial show, The Vampire's Ball, for, you know, about 10 years off and on, I think. I think it was like 2002 to 2006, and then 2009 to 2015. Anyways, so, and then Ruth also is kind of, she's got the yellow and green, kind of sickly green for confusion. So anyways, in the comics, the kitchen's actually shown with red walls, but here I decided not to do that. Anyways, the thing with Ursula's different shades of black, that was an ongoing annoyance for me. Even today, like, I'm wearing a black tank top that has a bluish undertone and black leggings that kind of, they're a little more neutral, but they're a darker black. But it used to always annoy me that I'd be like, I'm wearing all black, but nothing matches because they're all different blacks. Anyway, so I did that. But her school backpack is hot pink, so, you know, that's staying. Anyways, and her big brother Adam is like a goth industrial DJ with a mohawk and whatnot. Probably his real day job is being a bouncer, but we don't really, we see him more as a DJ, or, you know, he hangs around in the daytime because, of course, he works at night. So goes to the gym, pumps iron and stuff like that. But anyways, that's Noah's reference there. So that is September. And now October. This stream was a nightmare. It's the middle hour of it disappeared. So some sort of a YouTube glitch, but whatever. So we've got, of course, for Halloween, trick-or-treating, Ursula as a Roman charioteer, Noah as a cow. The backstory on this would be that Ursula told Noah she was going trick-or-treating as a dairy farmer, but she needed a moo cow in order to make sure people knew that she was a dairy farmer and not like a vegetable farmer or something. So anyways, Noah dresses up as the cow, and Ursula pulled a bait and switch on him at the last moment. And she's having Noah pull her chariot. This way she can get her candy and she doesn't have to walk. Smart. Anyways, so she's doing the thumbs down thing, and trick or treat plebs, and Noah's holding out the bag and kind of fuming, thinking, if I'd known we were doing Rome, I'd have been a gladiator. And then some kiddos in the background, a bee, a Superman, a witch, a princess, and a ghost. So there is that. And here we do have the non-photo blue crossing through the light colored pumpkin, but I don't know, it doesn't really bug me. I may Photoshop just that section. I don't mind these ones. I don't know. I'll leave it. I'll see when I'm Photoshop. Like, I'll Photoshop it raw, because we also have the line going through that orange pumpkin, which kind of also makes it kind of match. So I don't know. I may leave it. Just call it style. So now we've got Ursula. And I was thinking November, right? What do you do in November? Well, in the States, it's election season. That's not the case in Canada, because in Canada, our elections are kind of, I mean, if I think offhand, I think where I live, the municipal ones are always in October every few years. September, October. So that's probably kind of stable. But federal and provincial elections, it's kind of all over the place. But anyways, going with, I know that most of my viewers are in America. So going with that whole election day thing, I thought, well, Ursula decides that she's going to run for, well, she doesn't quite understand or care about the whole election thing. So she figures November's when you take power or whatever, which also doesn't work, because actually inauguration is in January. But never mind. Ursula doesn't pay attention in social studies class. Anyways, so she goes to the school board saying, I'm here to become dictator of the school board and ban fractions homework. And apparently she's the 6th third grader this morning to try that. And then we've got the background here with the light green. I mean, often I'll kind of use light green as almost like a sickly, like, I don't know what's going on, like confusion or disturbance or something like that when I was doing it in Procreate. Here it's kind of more just that it's bright and it's picking up the colors of the Post-it notes while also contrasting and it's light enough that it makes both Ruth and the receptionist, not Ruth, Ursula, and the receptionist pop out. So, but usually, often I do have some sort of I mean, if I went with my usual, I kind of, when I was doing Procreate, I would use like purples as like a scheming kind of a color. So I could have had some purple, but I mean, her hair ties are kind of purplish pink. But anyways, that is the November one. Anyways, so that brings us to December. Noah's got a ball of mistletoe on a stick for one of those kissing ball things. He's dressed as Santa, still has his shirt wide open. And he's saying, come here, Mrs. Claus. And he's chasing Ruth around. So that's going to be the last one. There is some very faint, I don't know that it really shows up in camera much, but we do have a little bit of tone in the faux fur. So the layout on this is going to be, let me just grab a blank sheet of paper here. I had planned on doing a Ricky B. Rat calendar as well, but I'm not going to. Ricky kind of doesn't pay much attention to the calendar anyways. So if we wanted the layout, so say in December, we're going to have the main illustration here. Whether it'll be full, I think it'll probably be full page, although it may be a little smaller than full page and then have like a caption underneath. Especially for like the November one, having like a little caption might help. And then we're going to have like December in big letters here. And then I think the first thing I would have is some blurbs about like the movable holidays. You know how some will be like the 4th Tuesday of January or whatever, right? So you don't know the specific date. You just know, okay, that's going to be the, the 3rd Monday or whatever. Whether it would be, I think April is Cancer Awareness Month. I don't know. I might not put like heavy duty ones like cancer awareness or that sort of stuff, because I want it to be light and fluffy kind of, and that's more suiting, like Noah would observe something like wear something gaudy day, I mean, Christmas and Easter and St. Patty's are, the huge ones that would be in there anyways. And Noah does like it's established in the comic that Noah likes to dress up like a leprechaun or like the Easter bunny or whatnot. But like, for example, I probably wouldn't put Pentecost in. First of all, it's a movable holiday and it's specifically religious. It's not really goofy, Anyways, so we probably, and it obviously Christmas is also a religious holiday, so is Easter, but they also have like commercialized versions that are all about like the Easter bunny and chocolate eggs or Santa and, getting presents. So I'm kind of going to try and keep the book kind of goofier. You know what I mean? So we may not have things like I think there is like say like the cancer awareness days probably wouldn't put in or like that sort of that sort of stuff. We probably won't get into that, but we'll have like peach cobbler day and the goofier, funnier ones. So, anyways, it would start with talking about like, is there like a month long things or whatnot? And I may also have, I have not done illustrations for this as yet, but I may have like a winter, spring, summer, fall, like those kind of seasonal ones. Like, I mean, we know approximately what day those start. But anyways, I may do illustrations for those. I just haven't done them yet. And the idea then is then we flip onto the next page, and then we have the text. And it would kind of go from like December 1st to not every day is going to have an observance. And days that have multiple, some will just be like listed, like, let me actually pull up on my thing, national days. So, for example, I had it in a different browser window. So, for December 18th, National Twin Day, Answer the Telephone Like Buddy the Elf Day, National Regifting Day, National Roast Suckling Pig Day. Like I don't know that I'd put every single one because some days we'll have like 10, but I'd put a couple. But maybe one of them I would have, like National Twin Day, I know I had wasn't an actual official comic, but it was like a doodle in my sketchbook about Noah waking up in the middle of the night and asking Ruth, what if I found out I had a long lost twin? How would I know which ones, if I'm the evil twin or not? And she's just like, go back to sleep. But like I could have for National Twin Day, I might then have, I might do like a blurb about National Regifting Day. Maybe not a blurb, but a sentence or two, because obviously there's 365 of these, and we don't want a page per day, because this was going to be like a 400-page book and printed in full color. Anyways, it's, I'm trying to keep things reasonable. So with full color, that means keeping it smaller. But I definitely have like lines here and there, and then I would definitely put in some extra cartoons here and there. So National Twin Day, I might have, and it might not be big. It may be like this size, like shrunk down, with the text flowing around it. And so anyways, there will be more illustrations, and that's also what I wanted to say, why this is part one of the project, because I decided halfway through that it was going to then become a book, but I hadn't previously written anything for the book, so I need to go do that. And once I know what, like even just listing off all the holiday observances that I'm going to include in the book, even before I go ahead and write blurbs, then, later this year we'll come back and we'll start doing illustrations for those. Like National Twin Day, he'll do a nicer version of my like rough sketch where he's waking up and asking about the evil twin thing. So we'll have more illustrations in a phase 2 of this project and starting again to actually finish the illustrations for this whole book. So that then is our little tour of the Noah Book of Days illustrations so far, the first 12. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I will guess I should just slip this in while I'm talking, you know? Subscribe now. I need to do one of these that has Noah and Ruth and whatnot, but we will then flip to thanks for watching. There's Noah and Ursula. Ricky and Miles will be talking about for other projects. Anyways, thank you for watching, and what I'm going to leave you with is a link to the playlist for all the streams for these drawings so far, so you can watch how I did everything. Well, you know, except for that one in October where, you know, it ended up being 2 streams of half-hour each, and I don't know what happened to the middle hour. The YouTube dog ate it. Anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.